Hi, this is Adam Kunzmiller with Board Game Geek at Gen Con 50, and I'm joined by Mark Wooten at AEG, and we're here to look at the Thunderstone Quest, this giant, chunky game here. All right, so what is Thunderstone Quest?
So Thunderstone Quest is a project we kickstarted earlier this year, and it's a re-implementation of the original Thunderstone game.
Okay.
This is the first opportunity we've had to put out something which is a facsimile of the final product. For those people who are looking down here, this isn't in fact the final product, but this was a pre-production copy that we put together to make sure that we could fit everything in the box.
So this is representative of the final product size?
Yeah, final product size. This is what the board will look like. Obviously, it won't be.
Sure.
It won't be that kind of material, but it gives you a feeling of what the final product is going to look like. The tokens will be smaller on the final product, but broadly speaking, yes, this is what your final product is going to look like.
So I remember the original Thunderstone. I don't remember it coming with a quest book.
Okay, so the quest book is interesting. I'll talk a little bit about some of the new things. So you can still play Thunderstone with random setups. They can say there. You can still play Thunderstone with random setups the way you always did. But one of the things we've tried to introduce this time is, because we've started off with this great big set, is we've told a story. So the champion level Kickstarter comes with 5 quests. The adventure level comes with 3, and the retail, when it releases, will have 2 quests and then 2 quest runners expansions. But they actually tell a story. So what you have here is you have all the cards that are involved in a particular quest. You turn it over, you read the story out, the first part of the story, A Mirror in the Dark, Rumblings from the Past, and you have a card set up and you play through that, and then you do the next part of the Mirror in the Dark quest with different cards but all from that one quest. And each quest has 3 parts, and then when you get to the final one, you start and you then get to the next quest, chapter 2. Okay. And this all tells the story of what's happening in Thunderstone Quest in this particular release.
So the quests also are related. It's a quest line, not just a bunch of independent quests.
Yes, exactly. So we're trying to tell a story with this. In the future, as and when we do expansions, we'll be trying to tell a little bit of a story in each of those expansions. But it's I was talking with my colleague Brian Rees on this, and one of the things we were saying is our aim with Thunderstone ultimately is to give you the tools to write your own adventures almost. What we want to do is create a toolbox, a sandpit if you like, that you can play in. People can come up with their own adventures, their own settings. Because of the way the new game works, which I can come on to in a bit, we've given you a quest with a story. But ultimately, as Thunderstone carries on, we'd like the idea that you can write your own stories. And in fact, we've left room in some of the rule books for doing just that. Little journals, most notable moments, and so you can create these things for yourselves. And as the game expands and continues, you can literally write your own campaigns and have little sub rules and so on.
So what else will people notice new in?
So what's new about Thunderstone Quest? Okay, so what's new about Thunderstone Quest? Let me talk about the village first. Firstly, in the village, you can now buy tokens. These tokens are one-shot effects. The food allows you to improve your skill, which is the thing you need to wield weapons, or you can trade it in for a little bit more gold if you're short. The light tokens, you discard them to get extra light, which allows you to move deeper in the dungeon, and the potions heal your wounds. So this is a new feature. Other than that, the village will look broadly similar to most people. One of the things that is different is you can always buy a card in the village. That's the same thing. You can buy a hero, you can buy an item or a weapon or a spell. You can always do those things. But now we've got places that allow you to do a little bit extra. So if you go to the bazaar, you can buy the potion. Another wrinkle in Thunderstone Quest is you can normally only level up 1 hero, but if you go to the Guild's Quarter, in addition to buying any card of your choice, you can level up an additional hero. The Shop of Arcane Wonders, normally you get treasures from killing monsters and defeating monsters, but if you've got plenty of money, you can go to the Shop of Arcane Wonders and try and randomly purchase one. But they're quite expensive. And finally, you can kind of go and rest up in the temple. This allows you to heal an extra wound. It allows you to prepare some cards for your next turn, but you can't do any of the other stuff like leveling up heroes or visiting the dungeon. So the village has taken on a more dynamic role in that where you go in the village is now relevant.
Well, the village has gotten spruced up. It looks like the dungeon has gotten some attention as well.
The dungeon has got some attention, so for veteran Thunderstone players there are some changes, but essentially what you do is you go into the dungeon to fight monsters, and there are a series of guardian keys. Yep. These are placed into the monster decks. The monster decks appear in 3 levels, 1, 2 and 3, and when you reveal 4 of these keys, the Guardian is released, and I still have my Guardian in that big box, so I don't know whether I'm going to be able to find it or not, but the Guardian is going to appear in the dungeon when 4 keys are revealed. I say the keys are hidden somewhere, so you go into the dungeon, you fight monsters. As you defeat them, they're discarded and replaced, and that's how you reveal the keys. What's different for Thunderstone Quest? Firstly, light, which we talked about with the light tokens, and is an icon that appears on certain cards, like this thief and this wizard. Light is the thing that allows you to move into the dungeon, which will be new for players of Classic Thunderstone. Each room has a light requirement, and you need to meet the requirement of each room before you can move through.
So if you don't meet the requirement, you're just not allowed to.
You're just not going to get to the monsters deeper in the dungeon. Also, the rooms have some additional abilities on them, so the deeper you get, the tougher the monsters become and the tougher the rooms become. So in terms of your deck building, you're very much trying to balance the desire to have good attack values with the ability to move around and do well in the dungeon. We have a couple of new mechanics. In the wilderness, there's a giant rat, which is still in my box, unfortunately. But the giant rat, when you attack it, you can use it to level up your 0 level adventurers into level 1 adventurers. So there's a smooth, easy ramp up to the game where you can just train the people in your basic deck up and turn them into
the giant rat.
Yeah, the giant rat. It's actually still in the box. It's actually in the box. Yes, I'm afraid. It's the one card I didn't remember to bring out. So yes, your adventures. It's always the first adventure, right? You go and take on the giant rats because you're a low-level adventurer and you need a bit of experience. What else is different?
I don't remember this player board either.
The player board, yes. So now,
I'm going to bring this up.
When you fight monsters, even if you defeat them, they don't become part of your deck. They're just killed. But what they do is they give you wounds. Now, as I've explained, this is a prototype, so the tokens and the slots of the tokens will match up on the final.
So they will fit on this.
Yeah, they will fit on the final thing. But you take wounds, and as you can see, this is your hand size. So as you take wounds, you can see that your hand size goes down.
Right.
You can always heal 1 wound in the village, 2 if you go to the temple, and what you'll often find is your clerics are good at healing your wounds. So the clerics will heal these wounds and keep your hand size up. But the monsters will wound you whenever you fight them if they show these wound icons. Right. And some runes will wound. Some runes
traps in the room.
Will
danger.
That's right. This reflects a trapped room. And so on. I mean, some of these require rogues because they're trying to indicate trap runes. So this is a different mechanic from the one where the monsters actually went into your deck.
Right.
So that's different. The treasure deck is different. The other thing, we've got a couple of little wrinkles. Now, when you start the game, we don't recommend you do this perhaps on the first playthrough, but once you're experienced, you can set yourself up with special quests at the start of the game. Some of these quests will give you additional victory points at the end of the game. So, for example, this one, your spells are worth 2 victory points. Others will allow you to release either sort of cursed heroes. So we have a bunch of vampires here. We've got a special weapon, Blood Drinker, which is a very powerful weapon that forces you to take wounds or destroy your own heroes. We have the Mighty Werewolf, who is probably the single strongest hero in the game with 10 attack, but every turn he consumes your highest level hero because he's a werewolf. So you've got these side quests that you can either use to try and enhance your deck and play a sort of interesting and varied game, or you can use them to try and get extra victory points. You have guild sponsors, which from each of the guilds, the Thieves Guild, the Healers Order, the Fighters, the Mages and so on. You pick these at the start of the game, and these will sort of favour particular strategies. So you look at the board at the start of the game, you look at the monsters, you look at the heroes that are available, you pick a side quest, and you pick a guild to sponsor you.
Now, are all these different editions modular? Can you pick and choose which ones you're using?
So you can play through the quest book, and at the end of that, we've got this big box, which I feel I do have to show you because it is a monster. Now, if nothing else, you can do weightlifting for fitness with this box because we think it's going to weigh about 15 pounds. Okay, and again, this is just a simulation box, it's not the final one, rule book. It'll probably look something like this where it does have a lift out, but underneath, we did want to make sure that we could get all the cards in here. So these are all the cards from the champion level Kickstarter. Let's put those like this. Sleeved as well, because we wanted to make sure they went in there sleeved. But as you can see, they're all arranged different color coded with dividers for heroes, items, spells, weapons. So you can play, and you've got randomizers. So you can then play a completely random game afterwards if you wish. You can play with random dungeon tiles, you can play with random heroes, you can play with random items, random monsters. You can make your own scenarios up. As I said earlier, you could build entire quests if you wanted to. And as I say, we very much talked about this, that we want the game to feel like it's a sandpit for people to come up with their own cool ideas, and
Cool. And when will this be widely available?
We haven't confirmed the retail release yet. It will be, I think, sometime in the first part of next year.
Q1.
Q1, maybe Q2.
Cool.
But I haven't got an absolute confirmed date yet. Obviously, we need to get the product to the Kickstarters, the backers, but we'll be releasing it shortly after that.
All right. Well, thank you, Mark, for talking through Thunderstone Quest with us.